What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
And Levon Maynard.
Hey, welcome to the show.
What is going on? So welcome to Wednesday's discussion. So Monday, we talk about a Gmail hack, Hyperscrape. On Tuesday, we discussed the DoorDash data breach. So we go into a little bit of that information. And then today, we are discussing the big Twitter commotion, right? So this is an article on TechCrunch. It's written by Carly Page. It is titled, Ex-Security Chief Accuses Twitter of Cybersecurity Mismanagement in an Explosive Whistleblower Complaint. So this complaint was first obtained by CNN and the Washington Post. It was made by the former head of security, Peter Zatko. He was only there for a couple of years. So he came into the company in 2020, and then now 2 years later, he no longer works there. So Zatko says that he witnessed egregious deficiencies, negligence, willful ignorance, and threats to national security and democracy, according to his whistleblower complaint filed on July 6th with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, and the FTC. So he states that he states that Twitter lacked basic security controls. He said thousands of employee laptops contain complete copies of Twitter's source code, and that 1/3 of those devices blocked automatic security fixes, had system firewalls turned off, and had remote desktop access enabled for non-approved purposes. Then he just goes in to also talk about he alleges 5,000 full-time employees had broad access to the company's internal software. That access was not closely monitored. Some employees had laptops that had the Twitter source code. And all this rides the back of, in 2020 alone, Twitter had more than 40 security incidents, 70% of which were access control related. These included 20 incidents defined as breaches, and all but 2 of which were access control related. So he says basically they did not do anything right when it came to security controls. And in it, I don't see where he takes any blame per se, just where he continuously told them like, hey, this is not right. But it seems like there was no movement per se until he blew the whistle. So, you're only going to get half the truth in this situation. Who's to say what he did or did not do himself in this situation? Like maybe he's just trying to shield himself from further blame. Twitter is a really big name, and if he were to be fired by Twitter for negligence, who's going to pick him up, basically? But on the flip side, Twitter is about that money, and they would not like for this type of information to get out, especially when they have a still $44 billion contract with Elon Musk that he's trying to get out of. So I'm sure both sides have stuff that they want to keep from being in the public. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's not surprising, I suppose. Like I was going to say that I think you probably find a lot more organizations that are kind of in the same boat that you just don't hear about. And not to rag on them, I know we talked about T-Mobile. I think they had some issues with their cybersecurity being brought up in some. I'm trying to remember some of the articles we covered before, but they were kind of known to have some poor cybersecurity protocols that they were using.
Yeah,
on their
because we talked about
this
SIM swaps. Remember that was not too long ago too. They're having issues with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me with Twitter. I mean, it's, I think a lot of these organizations, I think we talked about this many times before too, but they put cybersecurity kind of like on a low priority list of things that they need to work on. They maybe focus more on acquiring customers and building their brand and, increasing profits and things like that. Maybe building out the infrastructure so they can support large amounts of people within their programs or their services. But maybe the cybersecurity kind of gets left on the back end. It's kind of like the last thing they think about, and maybe they have a small budget to cover for that kind of stuff. But we're seeing it more and more that that needs to be more of a higher priority. Security should be like kind of like the first priority should be built. Everything should be built on the security, and then kind of trickle down from there and make sure that everything's kind of protected before it actually gets deployed. But yeah, this is just it's kind of interesting that like you mentioned, one of the guys, ex-security chief for Twitter, is coming out with all this information right as Elon Musk is trying to acquire them. Obviously, it doesn't make Twitter look that great. I think Elon was complaining about the number of bots that are out on Twitter and using that as a way to kind of exit the deal. Though this is not exactly related or 100% related, but it also still it still casts a kind of negative shadow on Twitter and their business practices. Because maybe if they're not securing the systems well, maybe they don't know exactly how many bots they have as well. So it's kind of concerning. But Shannon, you think you have some thoughts on this one?
So I do a couple things, right? So whenever whistleblower things happen, right, what I like to think about is that when they blew the whistle, right, to determine the veracity of what they're saying, right? So because this person was already fired, Mudge was his name, Nudge, whatever.
That's his nickname. Yeah, his
nickname, yeah, Mudge. Because Mudge was already fired, how much of this is sour grapes? Now, here's the thing. I believe there were some problems there, right? But the fact that he was fired and then all this stuff came out, it's like, okay, if you were a true whistleblower, you'd have came out and risked your job before that, right? Like you wouldn't wait to not have the job before you said something. So I tend to think that some of it is sour grapes, but I do believe there's truth in what he's saying. But with that being said, I don't believe it's as severe as he's saying it is, because some of the stuff that he mentions on there about outdated software and things of that nature, if a lot of the stuff that he's saying was true, you would see a lot more breaches of Twitter, right? Because here's the thing. In this political landscape, even, and I'm not trying to get into politics, right? I'm not going that route, but Twitter is pleasing no one right now, left, right, or center. Nobody is happy with Twitter, right? So I would have to believe that there are a lot of people out there who are trying to infiltrate them to embarrass them, right? To say, oh, this is why we think this, that, and the third about Twitter. And we would see more of it, right? Like we would have more than, these people that say they're hacked that just got drunk one night and put a message out there, but like, oh, my account was hacked. You know what I mean? Like that's what a lot of the hacking is for Twitter. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of sad that Twitter, being in the IT scape like they are, that this is the what am I trying to say? The cybersecurity posture that they have, but
right,
it kind of doesn't surprise me anymore. You know what I mean? Like this stuff comes out all the time now. And again, in this day and age of technology, we hear about it quickly. You know what I mean? Like we don't have to wait for the newspaper to be delivered in the morning to see stuff like this anymore. You know what I'm saying? So it seems like it's happening more often. This type of stuff probably happened just as often back in the day. You just had to read a newspaper to find out about it or watch your news, right? So, yeah, it's a little disheartening. But again, I don't want to sound like I'm coming to Twitter's defense either, right? Because I'm not I'm not a social media guy, right? So, but yeah, I think some of it is a little embellished, but I also think that a little bit of it could be sour grapes. So, yeah, that's just my stance.
Right. So yeah, and that may be true, but like that two-year turnover does sound like they didn't have their stuff together when he arrived, right? Like, so they hired him to come in. I believe his background is red team to come fix their problems, and he was just hit with a wall of just, this is not right. How do you get to right? You got to spend money, right? You have to enforce practices. Even in one of the paragraphs I skipped, he says he discovered that half of the company's 500,000 data center servers run on outdated software that do not support basic security features, such as encryption for stored data, or no longer receive regular security updates from their vendors. So if this is true, and he's coming into an environment that the backbone of the company is crap, and how do you fix that? Like, how do you just like, hey, 250,000 of our data center servers have no basic security protection. How do you fix that? Like, okay, we need to migrate elsewhere to secure. Like, it's a lot of money. Twitter's like, nah.
But that's kind of that's kind of what I was alluding to, right? With like if the cybersecurity posture was what he said it was, like they'd have been getting a lot more attacks. Like that was one of the ones I was like, I find that.
Well, he did state, he was like, we don't even know how many times we were attacked. Like there's no logs to tell us how often we are breached. Like, so if that's the case, it could be daily. Because it says this meant that Twitter suffered from an anonymously high rate of security incidents, Zatko said, and reasonably feared Twitter could suffer an Equifax level hack, referring to the 2017 credit agency's breach that resulted in the theft of close to 150 million Americans PII. So if this is true, then he can't even tell you how many times we've been hacked. We just know it's a lot. So yeah, I honestly do not know, but yeah, the timing though, that's the part that I don't like. Like this is in the midst of a $44 billion acquisition, right? So is this Twitter trying to sweep him under the rug, or is this him not wanting to take the fall for like, because my 2 years did not cause this to happen, right? Like, so don't put the weight of the world on me as the CISO, CIO, whatever. I came in here, tried to, you know what I mean? Like a firefighter came in here and then the building fell on me. So
right.
Don't, like, I didn't start the fire. So yeah, I don't know. Like it's going to be interesting to see the back and forth, but I know that Elon Musk is probably super happy right now. So who's to say he's not part of this situation as well? Like, hey, poke as many holes in this company as possible, because I do not want them. Like it was a joke, people.
Right.
Like, you call my bluff. So yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know who to believe, but I can believe that some of this information, even just a quarter of this is correct, is just I wouldn't say despicable, but it seems like too too theatrical of a word to use. You know what I mean? It's just saddened. I'm saddened by this. Like these huge companies have money and they have the ability to think of the future, right? Like, why does your data center, which is humongous, why is half of it unsecure? Like, why was that? Like, just a little bit of foreplanning and thought. Just having a team that you can afford a really good cybersecurity team for Twitter. At least I assume so. If your company's worth $44 billion, like how come there was no cert or some kind of team to go through and start to mitigate and fix some of this stuff, get you off of your current situation. You can partner with Azure or AWS or Oracle or somebody. Like, hey, we need to get some of this burden off of us because we are up a creek. But I don't know. We'll see. Like, I'm sure there'll be more information. Like, because now that he's blown the whistle, I would assume there'd be an audit of some sort. Like, they're actually going to come in and like assess how damaged you are, to see if his complaint can be substantiated. I would assume.
You better bet Elon is going to demand it at this point, right? Because he's about to go to court here shortly. You know what I mean? Because they called him on it, like him trying to back out of that 44 billion. They're like, nah, give us our money, man.
Yeah.
He's like, nah. He's like, your ex-security chief says y'all ain't doing it right. So y'all need to show me you're doing it right. Right. Hopefully he doesn't fall into his own trap again and be like, all right, I'll give you the 44 billion if you prove this, right? Like, Elon, you're not learning, dude. Like, they called your bluff before. Like, don't do it.
Right. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, the timing is pretty crazy for all parties involved. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's disheartening because everybody wants to work for big companies like this, because you want to be part of the zeitgeist, right? Like, I work for Twitter or whomever, but B, you think that they have their stuff together, right? Oh, I'm going to come in here to a pristine environment where I can, better them. Not that I'm coming into a dumpster fire and like I'm the fall guy or lady or whatever. Like, it's crazy. So I don't know. Grass is not always greener, ladies and gentlemen. So it is what it is. But with that being said, bring this episode to a close. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Levon. Definitely a great discussion. Definitely continue to tune in, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit us up on all of our social medias. I'm at RyRy Security Guy, RYRY Security Guy, LinkedIn, Clubhouse, Twitter, TikTok. And you, Levon?
You can hit me up on the Twitter at Levon Maynard.
There it is. Stay safe, stay secure.
Take care.
Thank you.